Welcome into the Loochador Podcast here on Selection Monday. I apologize, guys, for doing the brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I love Academy Sports and Outdoors. Billy, by the way, I went the other day, got the boys some cleats, and we have a lot of kids that play soccer, so I can go there for that and go there. You know, I'm into the gun thing now. That's kind of, I go there for that. Camping, fishing, you name it.
How much camping and fishing do you do? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, I went fishing 2 weeks ago with my buddy Philip Vargas. Had a blast buying new rods for the family.
Adds to the narrative.
And then the worms, I know how to do it, put it on the hook, the whole thing.
Beta hook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They teach you that at an academy?
Beta hook.
My buddies taught me that.
They could.
They
could try to
They taught me to do
hook.
that, and I just did the old switcheroo where you kind of flip it and double do it. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I do
double
like.
did it?
I double did it.
He did the flip and double dip.
For a big man like me, the loose-fitting Magellan shirts,
Nice.
and they have the best selection of those. I buy a bunch of them. From
I buy those for like dads and uncles for Father's Day. Father's Day coming up.
Stuff for dad.
That's actually the perfect place to shop
Stuff
your
for
dad.
dad, stuff for kids, stuff for mom. There's stuff for moms, great gear.
I think for Father's Day, that's where I'm going to go. And then I'll tell you what else. I want to know, do they have Ronnie, you might know this because I know I've bought weights from them. Do they have the like dumbbells and stuff? Do they have the weighted vest? What is that called? Rucking?
A
Is
ruck
that what they
set,
call
yeah,
it?
a ruck, yeah.
Yeah, do they? That's what I need
don't
to
know
look.
if they do. That's a good. You know what they have?
What?
Gloves.
Yeah, I'll let you.
Lifting.
I'll go to Academy, buy you gloves,
I haven't
so
worn
we
gloves
can make fun of you.
At the gym in a year.
If you ever,
Academy is also good for making fun of your friends by buying them.
well, if
fingerless
Billy
gloves.
ever fires you from this job,
This coming.
you could go to Academy and work, and you could be like the greeter of the weight
With
section
gloves on?
with gloves on, and you could
I
teach
could
people.
teach.
Yes.
Because that's one thing that does bug me is the form that I see out there, and I would
Is
do
this
that.
still
No, I was just talking.
Sponsor or because I'll tell you what, there was because I'd like to go into it. Go ahead, finish the. No, we're talking about our sponsor. Now we're transitioning.
Well, academy.com, place your orders. You don't have to go in the store, but we like when you go to the store. Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. They are Texas born and bred.
Look up the
As I
ruck.
am.
Look up the ruck.
While we're talking.
Look up because I'll go.
Well,
I'll go. You'll see me at Academy today.
Well, can I just first, let's talk baseball, and then we'll kind of end with that.
Okay.
The regional set. And
Wait. Before you do that,
Yep.
I want to tell a story about fingerless gloves because Bronny will appreciate this one. There's a guy in New York that was causing my buddy back in the Heisman.
Sticky Bandit.
What? Who?
The Sticky Bandit.
How's this?
Marv. Home Alone. Fingerless
No,
gloves.
okay. They do have a rucksack.
Yeah, boom, Academy.
Okay, so you'll
Okay.
see
thought
me
you-
rolling through the neighborhood in that. Don't think it's weird, but I heard it's really good. So maybe I'll get one for Griffin too, like a dog one.
If you want to get me one.
So the guy had fingerless gloves. He was a total jerk to my friend. Wouldn't let him in the bar, like the club in New York. Like, kind of scoffed at him for wanting to get a booth. Like thought he didn't look like he could get into that section. And my buddy really took offense to it. So he had this vendetta against this dude. Well, a couple nights later, the guy lets me into Johnny's draft party, but stops him. So it's clearly now a two-way vendetta. So he had to go get some. So it's a big deal. Fast forward, 5 years later to the UCLA A&M game, and we go out in LA, and there we get to a club, and I see this guy feuding with somebody at the door, just somebody I didn't know. I go, what's going on up there? And I look, and the guy's going like this, keeping fingerless gloves guy. Same dude.
Still.
I asked my cousins in New York. They said, yeah, we've known that guy for 30 years. He's the worst door guy in New York.
So he does door work in L.A. and New York.
Yeah. So
I see a lot of
I told
coffee
my buddy, I was like, yeah, that's the saddest freaking cup of coffee. Time out!
Carson,
What the hell?
shot glass of
It's like an
coffee.
espresso.
There is not a lot of liquid in there.
All right, let's start.
All right.
Hey, people, we'll give a disclaimer.
Keep that in.
Yeah, but we'll give a disclaimer at the beginning. If you want to only hear about the regional, skip the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So then
There you go.
You have nothing to get angry about on Memorial Day.
We'll put a chapter on YouTube. All right, so let's talk about the regional. It's set. Grambling State coming in here. You got Louisiana and Texas. Texas, the 3 seed. Thoughts on the regional? I was kind of surprised Texas is the 3 seed, but it is what it is, guys.
Well, I guess so, but they were kind of on. They were a team that the conference tournament clearly did matter to. That 0-2 may have been the difference, or do you think that was just
probably
to play
it dropped?
us?
So if they were going to be a 2,
Yeah,
when they entered the conference tournament, I think they were 48th in the RPI. That would have been a low 2.
Yeah,
for A&M.
that's what I'm saying.
So if they got into the 50s, they're probably now a high 3.
Yeah,
and so that's kind of where that went. But yeah, I mean, it was obvious, man. We talked about this in the weeks leading up. You could see it coming a million miles away.
Texas or TCU.
Texas or TCU. TCU didn't even get in.
Didn't get in,
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me.
Did that
Longhorns
surprise you?
It did, because we talked about it on Texas Aggies radio. I think we've got to be better, not just with baseball, but I think basketball does. When you have people that are on the committee with vested interest in certain schools, Florida's AD is on the baseball selection committee. And Florida gets in at 28 and 27.
Unless you're Texas A&M and you got Eric Hyman. But other than that, yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was more surprised. I think, but TCU had conference losses and they to like Cincinnati, and they finished behind Cincinnati in the standings. So it was tough to validate TCU getting in over some of those other clubs. It's unfortunate, but I don't think anybody across the street shedding too many tears. But
no.
You could just see this, and that's my only issue with this is like regionals. There are some people, but like because of where Texas A&M is located,
they're going to have tougher.
They're going to have tougher regionals. But there's like NC State. If you've got it pulled up, David, like when the NC State draw came out as the 10 seed, I'm going, man, that's very winnable for a 10 seed. So when you have
there's a couple of those regionals, right, where I looked and I said A&M. I'm exaggerating, and I know there's not a postseason run, but they could run rule their way through that one.
Yeah,
it's only a slight. I mean, college baseball is not going to work that way, and one of these seeds that we think got an easy draw is going to lose. But on paper, like you said, A&M's never going to, with all the Louisiana schools, with the Oklahomas, and all the schools in this state, they're always going to get a tough regional.
And but again, understanding what was out there, I think that's a pretty fair draw. Mm-hmm. But still, you're welcoming in a Lafayette team who is postseason. They're there all the time. This is not going to be new to them. They've been sent to Olsen Field how many times since the mid-2000s? I think Kyle Tebow beat them in a regional. They were here 2 years ago. Then obviously Texas is the most postseason burst of any program in the country. So it's a winnable, but it's tough.
Yeah. Well, we knew and I would love it to not be tough.
Yeah.
On paper. I would love that. I want to see A&M go as far. So the easier it is, fine. I would love that. But you also got to be like, come on. If the goal is Omaha, it is going to be tough. Like, you have to just assume that, right? Like, if your goal is to win a national title, which it is, then, like, you're not getting there without a bunch of landmines. So what's a couple more? I mean, at some point, this team has to play at their best, and if they don't, their season, maybe it lasts another week, maybe it lasts another 2, maybe they're a quick exit in Omaha. But at their best, we know what they can do. And they could roll through a tough regional. Like, by the way, 2 years ago, TCU in Louisiana.
And that was a tougher 4 2 years ago.
That's a tougher 4. And Oral Roberts, that's a 4, who a year later was in Omaha. And then Louisville, who was I think that Louisville team to me looks better than this Clemson team. And by the way, that might be Vandy sitting there. So to me, like, I think this is it's going to be tough to get there regardless. So what I don't like just the cop-out by these committees every time to put Texas in. I don't mind it this time because I think they're a natural high 3. It's okay. But like what they did to softball was criminal, and it probably kept, and even the Longhorn fans and media covering them were like, nah, that was like what they did with TCU and A&M in baseball. Yeah. Where both those teams should be in the College World Series. Yep. And because they wanted their cute little matchup and they manipulated the thing. But there's too much of that. I think this is the last time we're ever going to have to talk about it because
unless they start matching up supers.
Yeah. And they probably will, but
At that point,
it's at least okay because both teams have to get there.
But we just saw it in softball. Like, they went out of their way to match them up in the supers. Like, that's my issue. Don't go out of your way to do it. If it fits, and I think this year it does fit with Texas as the 3. If it fits, fine. But don't maneuver and manipulate the system because you want certain eyeballs and matchups.
Was it you that said this? Because if it was, I totally agree that they should just seed the damn teams 1-64.
I think that's a Schloss thing.
I think they should do that because forget these cute matchups and stuff. You're not like really driving up TV ratings in the regional round of college baseball with these. Like, I'm making up one, but like East Carolina versus South Carolina. I know that's not one this year, but that's not going to drive up TV. What A&M got screwed on in this region, in my opinion, is you got 2 teams very drivable. So you've created a situation where you're inviting a lot of, opposing fans to cut into your home field advantage. But it really doesn't matter because the Aggie fans are going to overwhelm them. But that's kind of what they do with these.
Lafayette's going to travel. They'll send a bunch of people up here.
By the way,
the times just came down. By the way.
At Academy Sports and Outdoors, bikes for the whole family are just a click away. Buy online at academy.com with our free in-store assembly. Your next set of wheels, plus helmets, pads, and water bottles will be waiting for you at our in-store pickup counter. Get to the fun faster with our in-store pickup and free assembly at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
You're interested. Early game for A&M, noon game, 5 o'clock for that second game. Expect to start between Louisiana and Texas.
Does it say anything about Saturday's game?
Saturday, the loser versus loser game, 2 o'clock. The winner versus winner game, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Wow. Okay. All right.
It's late.
Yeah. So, listen, I think this. I think what's going to happen, and you won't do this, and you're going to be the voice of reason here. There's going to be so much focus on A&M Texas. I'm not sure. I wouldn't put the higher odds that the Aggies play the Raging Cajuns on Saturday. I mean, it's a coin flip, whatever, but there's not going to be enough talk about how good Louisiana is.
Well, let's look at the regionals, and we want to start diving into the teams and why this could be problematic regional for Texas A&M. Look, it's a SWAC school in Grambling. They were 28-28 on the year. Team average of over 300, but their team ERA is over 8. They've got a walk and hits per innings pitched. Their team whip is almost 2. Those are crazy high numbers. But A&M's played 2 SWAC schools this year in the midweek.
They've been tight.
And they've been tight both times. So I don't know if it's a mental block because they're playing them in the midweek. One of them was Texas Southern the night after you played and beat Texas.
Yep.
Texas Southern came in here and pushed you. Yeah, but still, like, you haven't been mentally sharp against those schools. I agree. Like, if you just show up ready to play, you'll be fine.
I think that drop in pitching affects, some of these SEC teams. When you go play a team where, like, the caliber of pitching is so much less than you. So hopefully after, like, an 8-day break, it phases them less than, like you said, in the middle of a SEC series, SWAC team, or a bad baseball team, whatever conference, a really bad team or lower level of talent and competition, and then an SEC team coming up. Hopefully this break and just getting back out there helps them get past that.
And then for Texas, obviously we know a lot about them, but why is it a tough matchup for A&M if they play? Texas really swings the bat. Now the good thing is on the other side, they pitch, they're very right-handed. Very right-handed. So that could help A&M, but if it's A&M Texas, like, don't be surprised if it looks like A&M Georgia or some of those big offensive series here at Tulsa. I mean, even that Sunday game against they can swing it. Jalen Flores, Max Ballou, Big 12 Player of the Year, Peyton Powell, what's the left fielder's name that came from TCU? Gasparino's a young kid. Like that, and Porter Brown. Yeah, thanks for that, Richard Screaming. And then
it's got to be
first baseman, Thomas. Really good player. Like they've got a real lineup.
They're a much better hitting team than they were when A&M went into Austin.
And it's kind of an inverted what you normally think of a Texas squad. Usually they really pitch, they play small ball offensively. This team wants to swing the bat and slug. And then Louisiana, Like, this Lafayette team can really, really pitch. Like, really pitch.
I'm looking at Chase Morgan, 3.29 ERA, 66 strikeouts, and you were telling me he's from the Houston area.
Yeah, Cy Woods kid from I think Conference Freshman of the Year in the Sun Belt. LeGavin, is it JP?
LP LeGavin.
LP LeGavin's got fantastic numbers. Like, if they're ahead late in the game, he's coming in. He's a shutdown. And then offensively, you know what Matt Deggs does. Kyle DeBarge is their shortstop. He's got 21 homers.
DeBarge, great 80s
El
band.
DeBarge.
There, yeah.
And
to the beat of the rhythm of the night.
Good movie, too.
Yeah, what was that movie? The
Like
Last Dragon.
Last Dragon.
he might have the Last Dragon tattooed on his back, like something sweet like that. He's at 21 homers. But outside of him, they don't slug at a really high level. But what does Matt Deggs do?
Still small ball
small ball.
Yeah.
They want to run. They'll do some awkward stuff. So individually with these teams, they can be problematic for A&M, no question.
Man, I said it a month ago, and I'm still – you're saying all this. I've looked at their schedule results, Louisiana's, and I've looked at their numbers, and I'm really impressed with their numbers after you told me to look at their pitching numbers. But then you look at their schedule results. It's not overly impressive to me. Some of the losses, some of the series losses. I just said it a month ago, and I believe it now. I think A&M, especially when I looked at the potential super regional matchup, I think the toughest challenge for Texas A&M, or the biggest pivot point in this postseason prior to Omaha, might be Game 2 against the Longhorns or ULL, or Louisiana, whatever they're called now. If you win that second game, and I think we know it'll be Prager pitching now that we see Grambling. I'd be shocked if it weren't. If you look at that second game, and if they can get through that to where either Texas or Louisiana's done by the time you play again, and then that other team, you talk about if it's Texas and you need to score some runs and Texas has to double dip you, they have to outscore you twice. And if it's Louisiana and you're talking about that pitching, my question would be, what's that pitching depth look like? And then I think you can get past that. And now you might only get one shot at it because in the second game it's all hands on deck. But you could get into that where you have a huge advantage the next time or first time you meet them. So
yeah, for sure.
That game is the one to me. I think if A&M can win on Saturday, I think they win this regional.
I think it's super, super interesting who they go with on Friday during the day to pitch. I don't think it's going to be Shane Sadeo.
Tanner?
I could think it'd be Tanner Jones. I really think they could still Coach Schlossnagle said that he wasn't going to go to Brad Rudis as an opener until it got later, maybe in a regional he had to do it. So if it's not going to be Brad, is it Tanner and Justin Lampkin trying to combine on that game one? Because if you can hold Shane for game 3, that would be that would be ideal for A&M and be able to, if you win game 2, you're firing Sadeo to try to win a regional.
And it's such a dangerous game to play, as Slosh knows better than anyone, because the last thing you want to do is your bats aren't awake or in the first few innings, and that realization that we're not winning this regional if we lose this one. If somehow, so then what the last thing, the nightmare would be pitching Cortez or Oshima, even though they could come back, but then you're not going to have them in that game too,
right?
Which would, so it's dangerous, but I think it's safe enough that I kind of agree. I think they'll have to think long and hard about doing that.
But it's crazy. I don't know what Texas is going to – if Texas wins game 1, what are they going to have available for game 2? How is their bullpen kind of shaped out as the season's gone on? But if A&M plays Texas saw Cortez, Oshimbeck, and Sadeo in that game in Austin.
Yeah.
By the way, I was looking at Chase Morgan's stats. I don't want to say just 66 strikeouts, but just 66 strikeouts. You compare that to A&M's ace, Ryan Prager, who had 105. So can you go a little bit?
I saw that girl from Texas that didn't have a massive strikeout numbers, which a lot of those softball aces do, and she was tough.
What I'm saying is that Louisiana Lafayette has the quality on the mound, if they get hot, if they pitch well, they can win the regional, no question.
Yeah.
They don't score a lot of runs, but all they need is a couple of times for a key double, or Kyle DeBarge hits a 3-run homer.
Hey, I watched them last year intently because that was that Miami regional, and it was Texas was there, and that was matched up with A&M and the Supers. So I'm watching Miami, Louisiana. They beat the Hurricanes, right? I'm pretty sure they beat them in one of the games.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they did, and they're freaking good. And we watched them 2 years ago here, and
That was a late home run by Boast, wasn't it? Because it was tight.
Yeah, it was tight. And then also, they beat TCU in that first game, right? Like that. We know how good they are. We don't and I do think a lot of people are going to see Texas, and they're going to see that burnt orange, and they're going to see red. They need to be paying attention to the red team too, because that's. I'm telling you, if Texas and Louisiana played a 3-game series, like if they were matched up in a
Well, did they not? Did they play in Minute Maid? Did you look at Texas? I don't think they did. They didn't.
No,
play.
they didn't.
But Louisiana went
Joey Yell
I think it's
Belly
Richard.
out there. I know who it is.
But Yell Belly. I think Lafayette played really close games. They lost to U of H, I think, in that finale. It was like a marathon game. But you're right, Billy. And it's a contrasting style in that game one between Texas and Louisiana, because we mentioned Texas wants to slug, hit the ball at the ballpark. Louisiana wants to play small ball and really pitch. So I think that's a really intriguing matchup in that opening night. And I like that what Schlossnagle does, playing the early game.
Yeah.
And so you can you get showered up, you go back out there, and you get to just put your feet up and watch and evaluate.
Do they? I mean, obviously we don't know their programs like we know A&M, but did they pitch their aces in that game one? You would expect.
Oh, for
How
sure.
could you
How
not?
could you not? I mean,
You'd be insane. I think you'd be, unless it's just some.
unless
If you're
splitting
facing
hairs.
some team that cannot hit
Yeah.
lefties, and your second best guy is a lefty, unless it's something like that.
Yeah, you would check the splits and matchups, but I don't know how. Again, Texas's pitching has really been up and down. For a while, they were walking the world. They were walking everybody. And I think since that's calmed down a little bit, it's allowed their offense to kind of flourish and take over. But I don't know, man. And in that atmosphere, I would think with Louisiana Lafayette and Texas playing, I bet it's going to be pretty close to full. There's going to be a lot of burnt orange and red that come into town for that. And so it'll be a good atmosphere.
Here's my thing that I'll say. We haven't said this yet. I'm not going to say, I said this earlier, not if the bats wake up, because I just think we haven't talked enough about this slump, this downtick, and it could be, you could call it a slump, like this downtick at the plate. It's coming against, if you go back and break it down and take out the games where they've slugged, the 14 against LSU, the 14 against Arkansas, those game threes, 6-0 against Ole Miss in game 3. Damn, they faced some really good pitching. Hagen Smith notwithstanding, because that was here, and that obviously is the biggest one, but they faced really good pitching away from that stadium. And I know Louisiana, potentially you're going to face them with really good pitching. You might not. You might get through there. Like I said, you might play Texas Saturday, and you might play a watered-down Louisiana at the end of their rotation. Who knows? But you've been facing, you can speak to this better than me, they've been facing really freaking good pitching away from Bluebell.
For sure.
And that's a big part of this.
A lot of people freaked out when you went on the road in Baton Rouge and lost those two. And now look what they did. And that was really like their jumping off point, and they've got two real starters. Gage Jump and Luke Holman are legitimate, as good as the front two of any rotation in this league.
And you faced Mississippi State's ace.
Their ace,
yes.
All SEC. You faced.
And then I was talking to Max Weiner over there at the watch party, and we were talking about A.J. Causey from Tennessee, the right-hander that came in that game. He's like, dude, he is as good of a right-hander as we've seen this year. That's Cal Steven included. That's Luke Holman included. Like, in terms of his stuff and the way it presents to hitters, he's really, really good. And I think Tennessee is underrated in terms of, like, everybody talks about how good that team was 2 years ago.
If I'm picking a team to win it, that's probably who
they're
I'm
the
picking
most
right
well-rounded
now.
team I've seen is Tennessee.
They're the one seed, so it's a big prediction by me. But I think
it's such a lottery.
But what I'm getting at is they're coming back here, They got that little break / reset, as you referred to it, 68, 60-something times during that time. They got the reset, which is true. Like, what we haven't talked about is what if this team just comes this weekend to swing the freaking bat.
Well,
let's not lose sight of the fact that we get not scared, but we get, as there's fans in us
concerned,
too. And we're like, dude, we really want to see them get through this, especially, and that is, I don't care what anybody says, when you put Texas in it, it ramps up that desire in the fan to win more. The last thing you want is for what happened in softball and them to get you a week later in baseball. Yeah. They're just begging for that. Yeah. So it adds to it. But just there's a reality that if you strip all that feeling away and you strip the analysis of what we're trying to do, these other teams, there's a team in this regional that over the course of a season is clearly the best baseball team. And it's this one. So
if they show up and play like they did during that stretch against Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Georgia, they walk this regional. I'm convinced.
And Bama and South Carolina.
Yes, like they walk this regional. Like I think man for man, kid for kid, this Texas A&M is better than Louisiana Lafayette, and they're better than Texas and Grambling. But they haven't played that way. It's been away from home. I actually liked where they're at, man. Like, I liked what Coach Schlossnagle said on the radio this morning about the energy at the practice last night. I think the kids needed a couple of days to flush it. They're beat up, and I do think, man, in front of this home crowd with a hot weather and a south wind, good luck. If you come and beat A&M, I think if A&M's going to lose this regional, and they can lose it, but if they're going to, somebody's going to have to play really, really good, and A&M's not going to have to play their A game. But if A&M comes in and plays to their potential, they walk this regional.
Can they win playing the way they've played recently, though? Can they win this regional?
What's recently? Against Arkansas? Yeah, they
that team wins this.
Yeah, we've conveniently everybody. I read all the shit in my pot, the group chats and my friends that text me and everything. Like, it's like, and he's done it, and 90210 Olin does it. Y'all conveniently forget. All right,
which one were you proud of?
You don't do it. I just said I got your antennas on. But Olin certainly does. You conveniently forget, and so do a ton of our fans that are just in the damn tank right now over, recent losses or whatever. You conveniently just leave out Arkansas, which, by the way, is the most apt comparison. If you're trying to predict the outcome, you faced the best pitcher out of all of them, and you played at home. That's the one you're playing at home this weekend. Like, that's the most comparable when you want to go through the last month. So I know it's baseball and it's asking a lot to flip a switch. But I'm just saying they haven't been playing terrible baseball. They just haven't been playing the dominant brand of baseball that they were. And that was, I think, more than anything, Bronny, you tell me if I'm wrong here, I think that had more than anything to do with just they had the confidence was just rolling. And I don't think you get that back against Grambling, but you could certainly get that back on Texas, Saturday when you're playing one of them. If you come out and hit and play a really good baseball game, that could roll on, not just through there, but a lot further.
They can overwhelm you. And we've seen them do it time and again. We saw them do it to Arkansas. Saw them do it down 9-0 to Georgia. We saw them do it all weekend to Vanderbilt. When this team is going and cooking, they just overwhelm people. And that you can't do anything about it. And so if that's the version that shows up, they will win the regional.
You got to keep, to me, like that bottom three in the order is so big. Now, not just this weekend, through the whole postseason, like,
this is a good reset for Ali Camarero and Caden
Sorrell and Chestnut.
Chestnut has got to keep the line moving.
Yeah.
He has to. Or I think you legitimately start looking at other options. Because, listen, and Travis has had a good year. He settled the second base thing when it was such in jeopardy. But he didn't hit one ball on the ground in Hoover. Not one. And what he does is he puts so much pressure on defenses, and he's so different than everybody else in the order that he's got to like live with that identity. Like that's who you are. If you hit a ball and it goes out over the fence, fine. But that's never the goal. The air is never the goal for him. It's on the ground, low liners. Let me get to first base.
Like pitch yourself in a pitcher's shoes, and you're pitching to Gavin and Jace with Chestnut on base.
Yes.
The mental pressure there, it versus getting them to start an inning.
Or you putting a bunt down in the right spot, and they panic defensively and they throw it down the right field line.
Well, they have to deal with that in the back of their mind the rest of the game.
Right.
I'm with you. But all three of them. And I predict that one of those three is going to have a big weekend. If this team gets out of there.
Sorrell. Like, I think Caden Sorrell, we've seen him just be a rocket ship for the back half of the year. He's kind of leveled out in Hoover after a good weekend against Arkansas. I think this is a good reset for a young kid. This is the most baseball he's played. Yep. And last thing, from my perspective.
And I'm done, so that's
I have one thing I want to ask you guys after this.
We just said it's the last thing.
No, but I'm the host. So you'll listen here.
Academy says so.
I said it on Texas Aggies Radio. This cannot be about individual emotions about how you do.
Yeah.
All of that stuff's gone. Wherever, if you're Jackson Appel, if you're Ted Burton, Ollie Camarillo, Braden Montgomery, and you got potential, you're looking at what's going to happen when I'm done at Texas A&M in terms of my baseball future. If that's in your mind this weekend, it can't be. This is team weekend. So if you were 0 for 4, you can't carry that.
I hope those guys realize.
They do, I'm sure.
No, I know they realize the importance of the team. I'm saying I hope they all realize, like, that's already set.
Right.
That's done. Like, where you're going to go, you're going to go. Like, you've got 60 games. You've got an entire career. What happens in a weekend, 2 weekends, 3 weekends, it's not – it ain't changing.
Whether Braden Montgomery goes 0 for his next 20 or 20 for his next 20, he's still probably going to go in the 4, 5, 6 range when he gets drafted.
Let me ask you guys about the super that we're matched up with, the UC Santa Barbara Regional there. UC Santa Barbara taking on Fresno State, Oregon versus San Diego. I don't know how much research you've done on these teams.
The Gauchos, the Ducks, the Bulldogs, and the Aztecs. That's what I know.
That's good.
That's incorrect.
It's San Diego?
Torero.
The Torero. Oh, it's
Toreros.
San Diego State.
Yeah.
Okay, the Toreros. I did know that.
What I will say about that regional is I think Oregon is the most talented team there.
Yeah.
Oregon's got some real players. They've done a good job of recruiting to their ballpark.
They didn't go to Omaha last year, right? That was Oral Roberts that beat them.
Yes.
But they were one. They were like an inning, an out, whatever it was away.
Is that a favorable matchup if you were able to get there compared to some of the other ones?
Yeah, I do think they would be.
Play an SEC.
Yeah, the physicality.
Yep.
Of those clubs is not even what you're going to see in this regional. Like, Texas is more physical than any team in that regional, but they play a different brand of baseball out there. It's going to be something different to match up. It's interesting, you look way ahead to Omaha. The fact that A&M's the 3 and not the 4, where you don't get Hagen Smith. If Chalk were to hold, you'd get Clemson in the first round in Omaha. Like,
or Vandy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of things that can happen. But if Chalk holds, that's an interesting matchup.
That was a big deal to me. If your eyes are, and look,
you would also avoid Tennessee.
Your eyes better be on Texas, and they better be on the Cajuns. But if you're just as us three sitting here talking, and you're projecting out, when I saw A&M come up as a 3, because for a couple weeks now, or week at least, I've been looking at it like, damn, that's almost for sure going to be A&M Arkansas if they both make. And there's a lot that Arkansas has ifs too, by the way. If they both make it, I'm like, God, it's the one pitcher that anyone in college baseball doesn't want to see, and that would be your first small little thing that could prove significant later on.
Yeah, I hope we're analyzing it.
Yeah.
I hope we're in a spot where we're sitting down doing one of these and they're going, okay, what's the matchup in Omaha?
And like you said, the West Coast teams are they're so sneaky because they are so different. But you will say this: if you could say you over the course of the season have been the best team of the 4 in your regional, and here's a path to get to Omaha without having to play a best of 3 against a rematch against one of your SEC foes, I would say I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll take it. And it guarantees you nothing.
And I will still, regardless of the struggles, I will take this offense at that ballpark with a south wind and the 12th man at full voice
against anybody.
I think you're right, that 12th man. Because it not only intimidates the other team, and it makes it so much tougher to pitch there, as I can attest to with my ball 5 first pitch. It's very brutal.
They were on you.
They were. But not only do they affect the opposing pitcher and the opposing hit, but it does, and I heard Slosh say it this morning, it does amp up our team. They just play with a different
swagger.
It's like Texas A&M defense at Kyle Field. You can put A&M on the road no matter how good the defense is, whether it's Mike Elko or freaking
RC.
Bob Davey. I'm going back to RC era, or RC or Bob Davey, whatever. The defense is still going to be better at home at Kyle Field with 100,000 chanting wreck and crew, waving their towels, loud on third down. And that's the same with this baseball team. They certainly, I think, walk to the plate and they just carry themselves with a whole different level of confidence and just it is. You can see it. You see it. And you also see it in the results.
It sounds like Schloss addressed that with the team this week. Yep. He was forthright in telling us that this morning. But again, the most encouraging thing he said was he was very pleased with how the players responded to the rest. It's that mental reset. Whether you believe it or not, you can say opening day, opening day, opening day. It's an opening day mentality. But when it's game 40, game 55, it's tough. You say it, but do you really believe it? Now I can, boom, it's over. Yeah. Now I can reset. Opening day is Friday.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you very much. We'll have much more on Texas Aggies Radio in the morning. Thanks for watching. And thank you to Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Need a new grill? Academy Sports and Outdoors is the destination for your outdoor cooking needs. With our free in-store assembly and pre-assembled grills and smokers, buy online at academy.com and pick up in-store. So keep those grilling plans at Academy Sports and Outdoors.